Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, Mr. Reel. How you doing?
It's another episode of Mormonism After Dark.
It has been a heck of a week, hasn't it? I am glad just to have 90 minutes or so to wind down with you and everybody else out there.
And what a fun Friday night we all have here. By the way, RFM, I sat down with a person who helps us out with our channel, and we were going over the various shows. And would you guess which show among all of Mormon Discussion Channel's content, Radio Free Mormon, Mormonism Live, Mormon Discussion, Almost Awakened, which show has the best fan loyalty to it? The people tune in, they don't leave. They stay for the whole show. They enjoy the whole thing.
It wouldn't be fair for me to weigh in because you already told me.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about it.
Mormonism After Dark.
What?
Yeah.
I thought it was the newscast.
The newscast is getting the most views in the last 30 days. But it's mostly because the thumbnails have had President Nelson on the front. And so when our thumbnail was designed for our show,
yes,
it would have President Nelson on the front of it. And a lot of folks will click that kind of stuff because they think it's some sort of story on the prophet of their church. And you get a few more believers who tune in. But no, it's Mormonism After Dark.
I am so happy. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I think the reason why is because we start late. People, they start they're washing their dishes with this in the background. Then they go to bed and they just forget to turn it off. I think that's why.
That's possible. I think it's the mental acumen of our audience. I think that these are they're tuning in for the good stuff.
Or aren't you the mental acumen?
Yeah, aren't you? Aren't you guys? You guys are the bright ones in the room. You guys are.
They are.
Mormonism After Dark. We're glad to have all of you guys here.
One of my chiefest delights related to this business is going home after a show and going through the live chat.
Yeah.
And I screenshot so many things. My phone is loaded. I think I'm out of storage space because I screenshot all of these comments that made me laugh so much. And I'm going back years. I had thought of the idea at one point of maybe having a series of podcasts where just going over the funny comments that people make in the live chat. I think that might have some value, but things just keep coming up, and I apologize, but I think that would be a great show. Anybody could do that show.
That would be fun. I think that's something that should happen.
It literally writes itself.
There you go. You talk about breaking the fourth wall as part of the theatrical experience in certain plays, right? That's the noticeable thing that happens is that the play is happening, they break the fourth wall, and they talk to the audience.
Well, in Shakespeare, yes, there are asides to the audience.
Yeah. And in other plays also, not necessarily just Shakespeare, but in other plays as well. And you don't see it in every play, but it happens in some and probably less than most.
It's usually considered to be somewhat jarring.
Yeah.
To an audience, especially on a movie.
Yeah.
Because usually that fourth wall is not supposed to be broken, but maybe it's been broken so much just as it's become its own convention now.
Yeah. And I think that's true. I think it has. But when I think about it, like the work that you and I do, our job is to break the fourth wall. Our job is to talk to the people, the audience that we're having a conversation with, even though for years we didn't interact with them at all during the program. Now we're taking live calls, 662-667-6667, down there at the bottom, running along the bottom. And also in the live chat, you'll see the pinned comment that shows both the URL address that you can come into the studio and StreamYard, or you can call that number and join the show that way. Glad to have all of you guys on. Yeah, we break the fourth wall every night, RFM. This is our job is to tell the audience the inside secret and let them know what's going on behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what breaking the fourth wall does, is it lets the audience in on something, that some thought they're having that they want to share with the audience about something that helps drive the show.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I just think it was kind of cool.
I think that's great. One of the general rules that's, I think, generally understood as much as anything is in understanding Shakespeare is that when a character talks to the audience in an aside, you can trust them that they're actually telling you the truth about what they're thinking.
Yes. Yes, they're letting the audience in on the audience gets to be part of the secret.
Yes, they get to know what it is they're thinking. Right.
Yeah.
You have no guarantee if you're talking to somebody else that you're going to be telling the truth. But if you talk to the audience, yeah, that's really what's going on inside.
Yeah, because now once you know someone's thinking, sometimes certain human actions now have much more meaning to them, and it makes much more entertainment or dimension to the theatrical experience.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So super cool. Well, uh, how's your week been? What's happening in
It
your
has
world?
been so busy. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you for asking.
Mhm.
It's been so much because Monday, did 2 podcasts on Monday.
Yeah.
And one of them was a huge special that had just dropped from the Widow's Mite the day before about the apparent complicity of the LDS Church. Well, complicity is the wrong word. They just did it. Tax evasion, and setting forth the evidence of that um, allegation in the Widow's Mite report. And we're able to get Professor Spencer Anderson on Next to No Notice to come on the show and give us his expertise. And that was an 82-page thing. It wasn't that easy for me to get through it because if I'm reading a legal opinion, I can almost scan, okay, for things I want because I'm so familiar with the terminology and the format. But even after having read a number of these, this is not my field. So I have to go very slowly and deliberately through each page. So I did that on Monday morning, and not only just once, but twice for most of it. So I could understand better what it was talking about. But that was so exciting because this is a huge story. And I'm not sure if anybody has even picked up on this yet, Bill.
In the area of world news about a major bank having or a major church having allegations against it for evading taxes is a story that would equal green for every news station who covered that. People would tune in to hear about how Mormonism has evidence against it for evading its taxes, an allegation made by the Widow's Mite report.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got distracted over here. Someone's asking about my bow tie. It exploded again. I'm afraid I'm getting rid of it this time. No third chances for you, bow tie.
I told RFM he should have 2 or 3 bow ties, different colors, different designs, whatever he likes.
I had 3. Now I have 2.
Have them just sitting there in the drawer in the office, so that
That's
way
where
you
they
can
are.
here at the
They're right
show.
over there.
They're right over. Okay,
This
well,
is my dressing room too.
you
I've
look
got a
great.
cot over there, a little tiny refrigerator in the corner.
I told him before the show started when he unbuttoned the top button because his tie wasn't functioning. He was having a wardrobe malfunction, and he unbuttoned the top button. I said, "RFM, that looks better than them all. You look fantastic, Mr. Radio Free Mormon."
Thank you. That's praise from Caesar.
Praise from Caesar. Yeah, render under Caesar what is Caesar's. Yes.
Excuse me. Oh, well, guess what?
Yes,
Guess
sir.
what? We've got a little bit more news on the Colch front.
Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
The Colch-orama, the Colchinator,
That's right.
who is in the live chat right now, all the way from Florida, probably, where he usually is.
All right. So now there's the new thumbnail. I would love to know if people love seeing us in the stuff, the attire that we wear, right? You know, the pink jacket and the tuxedo.
I like that. I want to know what's with the baseball and the hatchet.
Oh, thank you for asking. I'm so glad. I knew when I made it that you, being the person who pays attention to the detail when I don't, that you would have brought it back up.
Well, they both look like they're headed for my head.
No, it is June 13th, and the 13th of June is National Softball Day and National Axe Throwing Day. And I stuck those on there just so that you would ask me that question. I would give you that answer, and then we would see what you would say as a smart ass comment.
And it's Friday the 13th. So nothing good can happen from this combination.
Oh, my goodness. Were you ever a fan of the Freddy Krueger?
No.
Michael Myers, Jason
Can I tell you about Freddy Krueger?
Oh, yeah, please.
Okay. What is the first Freddy Krueger movie famous for? Was it the first one? No, no, Miracle on 34th Street. No, Miracle on Elm Street.
that
No, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Miracle on 34th Street. That's a whole nother season, my friend.
I know, but I eventually got there.
Well,
So, the Nightmare on Elm Street.
yes.
Right. What famous star had their first role in that?
Uh,
I think it's the first role. It's the first one I know of. He was very young then. He was
Is
just
it
like a
the
teenager.
I don't know. Is it the
I think
Who's
he
the
got
Boss?
eaten up by a bed or something.
The Who's the Boss kid? I don't know.
No, no, no. Yep. Look over here. They're
What is
getting it.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Yep.
Look at that.
And actually, that movie, which is the one I was thinking of, that wasn't bad. You know, I thought that was a pretty decent, scary movie with a great premise.
Mm.
Because you can't stay awake forever, but when you go to sleep and, you know, I thought that was clever. But then of course, you know, they beat it to death as things will do. And I think probably Freddy Krueger wasn't too bad either the first time.
Yeah, Robert Englund played Fred Krueger, and it's such an interesting thing. I definitely was scared by watching those things, but I also that was a huge part of my childhood that was positive. I don't mean like I had 3 positive things happen. That was one of them. I just mean all the things that were good in my childhood. That was one of them. Was
I would
watching.
have killed for 3 positive things in my childhood.
I know you would have. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, so yeah, it's an interesting thing that you're scared of it, and you wouldn't take it back. You enjoyed watching horror movies and being scared in the night as a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I could tell you stories especially about Poltergeist.
Ooh, was that the one that got you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm back from my mission. It's the summer of 82. And we're there, me and my friends who are about the same age. You know, we're there and it's opening night, another Friday, a Friday to remember. And we went there and it was packed. It was packed. It was wall to wall people. And we start watching this movie and we just get sucked into it. At least I did. I don't think I was alone. And just because it sucks you into it, into this family. And the first thing that's so important is don't jump into the horror. Otherwise you kill it. Okay. I can't tell you how many times you see that mistake being made. You have to build up to things. All right. And you have to establish characters, maybe one, but usually more than one, that the audience cares about. Because if you don't care about the character, why are you worried that they're going to be in danger later?
Yeah.
Right. That's where you get a real sense of care as opposed to maybe just a jump scare where really you're scared for yourself more than for the character on the screen. So anyway, these are my theories about horror movies, and I don't know why I'm going on and on about this, but those are some of the thoughts. Was I talking about a specific movie? And then I went, woo, way off.
I don't know, but what is the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Poltergeist.
Yes.
Because, and then there's a scene about a third of the way in where finally this mist comes out of the TV, right? And then it's like this hand, right toward Carol Ann. And that was that's a little shock moment. And this whole packed theater, which is getting very warm now because it's packed. There's one scream, and it was kind of low, and it was mine. I screamed at that. I went, huh! And there was a titter of laughter throughout the crowd. And I was a bit embarrassed, but I also think I broke the ice because when all hell started to break loose in that movie with the fake ending, which I've never seen done more effectively, that fake ending, I totally fell for it. Okay. It was brilliant. That entire theater was screaming, including me, nonstop through that entire sequence. It was exhilarating. It was cathartic. It was what I think the Greeks experienced when they went to the theater to have that catharsis of emotions. And then we went back to my friend's house, and that's Lee Polson. Sometimes he watches. He's like the smartest guy I've ever met. He's brilliant. He was a student back there at University of Texas, and a real great guy. So, but went back to his house, and the rest of us who were, with the group went back to his house, and we stayed up till, I don't know, wee hours, couldn't stop talking about that movie and how scary it was. So that was my experience with Poltergeist. So I'm sorry, I should ask you, what was the most scary movie that you've seen?
The Ring. And
Ooh.
when I watched that, the movie itself wasn't scary. I mean, it was scary, but I would have been fine. I get to the end of the movie, and one of the extra things in the movie is you can watch the same scene that is being played on a VHS tape, that anybody in the movie who watches the VHS tape, they are haunted by this girl who creeps towards them, comes out of the TV and
Yes.
kills them, right? Sorry if you haven't watched it. That just gave away the ending, but all right. So
It's very scary.
oh my goodness. So at the very end of the movie, I play Just Alone. So on my TV now is what they were watching on the
What a
television.
great idea. What a great gimmick, though. But
You know,
you're
she
buying it?
Yeah, yeah. So she starts at the well, and just like, and then like little creaks and sort of jumps ahead just like a little bit further than where she was when you saw her last. And it scared the living hell right out of me. I as a grown man, it had me, and I'm fearless. Like I was like, oh shit. I'm usually the one that's escorting somebody in a when I was a kid, escorting somebody to the bathroom or whatever. But if they were
It's really
scared,
funny because the other day, Wendy comes around the corner and she's got her hair, it's just like all down in her face. And I said, "What is this? A scene from The Ring?" I don't think she got it.
There you go. That's it.
But now she can.
The scene right now.
I hope you're watching.
Wendy, don't watch the extra after the movie. Do it.
Wendy does not like watching scary movies.
Yeah. I'd
And
love
yet
to
I
know.
got her to watch so many because
I love it.
it's because she's a very good sport. And I've been, I think, very selective. And not just movies to try and be scary, but movies that are quality movies that just happen to be in the horror genre, like The Exorcist, right?
Yeah. I was a young adult as well when it was The Ring that got me. You said you had just come off your mission. You were a young adult. And that Poltergeist had scared you.
22.
Yeah. Young adult as well. I think there's a moment when you're a young adult and you go from that younger stage of life where you're invincible and you suddenly realize that maybe you're not quite as invincible as you think you are. And then suddenly you get a little more scared by something that you wouldn't have been scared of maybe a few years ago with your more kid mind.
I got to tell you this story, okay? Because this is a funny story. And I know Wendy will never forgive me if I don't tell you the story. So this is like over a year ago. And it was like around Halloween time. And she's survived The Exorcist. She survived Jaws. She has survived, just any movie that I thought was of any interest that was might be scary. And she did fine. No problem. She said, "Oh, I see what you say. That really is an interesting movie. Oh, that is a really good movie." But then somebody came up with the idea. She thinks it was me. I don't think it happened that way. But somebody came up with the idea. My impression was she came up with it from somewhere, of watching this movie called The Conjuring. And the reason that I think I didn't come up with it is because I did not find that movie that scary. It did quite well. It spawned its own little universe, right, of movies. But I didn't think it was that scary. And so I said, well, she's watched movies that she hasn't wanted to watch. So obviously I'll watch this again with her. And we watched the movie. I think we're about halfway through. And she's getting freaked out by this movie. So she calls her adult son, talks to him about the movie. And the adult son then talks to her and tries to make her calm down by telling her that all this is a bunch of lies that people made up. It never happened. People were doing acid trips and they wrote this script and there's nothing to it. Okay. So we're still on this rather lengthy intermission on the movie. I don't know if it's going to continue. It's okay if it doesn't by me. But I think she wants to watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
Her story could differ in that regard too, but I don't think so.
Sometimes you do have to maybe step away for a second before you can come back to something.
Yeah.
I watched an episode of The Walking Dead, the zombie apocalypse movie. And there's one that's just so one of the episodes that's just much more intense and gory and heart-wrenching than all the rest of them. And that one, I mean, I watched that and I had to take a break from it. And I still can't go back and watch that episode again. It's
Really?
I would be traumatized again if I watched it. Yeah, it was yuck. People were just beat to death. I mean,
Yeah.
So
So now, of course, the movie's about Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
60s, 70s, and 80s, and they were in their heyday doing what it is that they do. And the funny thing is that then Wendy says, "Okay, I'm ready to watch the rest of it because I just got off the phone with my adult son, and he told me that none of this is true, and this person who wrote this is on an acid trip." And I'm looking at her, and I say, "Well, actually, Lorraine Warren is a very nice woman." And she looks at me and says, "But she's like on acid, right?" I said, I didn't get that impression. When I talked to her on the phone, it was just on the phone. It was a nice phone call that she was nice enough to accept from me, probably 1990, 1991 or 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I was very interested in them, having read their main book, the main book about them, The Demonologist, which is the scariest book I've ever read. And but anyway, you know, people have different opinions about them. All I know is that she just seemed to be such a classy lady. And of course, in the Conjuring movie, when they're repeating the presentation that Ed and Lorraine and their younger self, the actors, are giving in a college up there on the stage, and they do the pan over the audience, and there's, you know, Lorraine just sitting there right there in the corner, just smiling amongst all the other college kids, right?
Yeah. I asked people in the live chat what was the scariest movie they'd ever seen. And one vote was for Johnny Lingo. Johnny Lingo. A Mormon movie where the romantic partners in the world are all objectified by being worth a certain number of cows.
I know we could do a really great series on that, and we call it Cownado.
Cownado.
In Cownado.
Did you believe? I mean, could you believe it when you saw it that Sharknado was so good that they made
I've never seen it.
A Sharknado Part 2, 3, 4, and at least
how good it was.
Yeah, I think there might be 7 of them now.
Like Henry VI. You know, it's parts 1, part 2, part 3. That's how good it was.
And if you want to understand how like certain people can believe in Mormonism when all of it doesn't add up, all you have to do is look at Sharknado and know that by episode 6 or movie 6, part 6 or part 7, people are still looking somewhat scared by an irrational tornado carrying sharks.
That is funny. You know what? There are certain things. I haven't watched it, and I'm not rushing to, but apparently the latest, what is it? Gonna Get You, Death is Coming. What's it called? Final Destination.
Oh, yeah, the video game movie.
Is that what it is? So that's a movie. Yeah, okay. So this is like Family Ties or something.
Yeah, close to that.
It's got Michael J. Fox. He's making a comeback.
Yeah.
And Family Relations or something there. Anyway, but I haven't watched any of these, okay, but they've been around. This is like a certain number, right, of these movies that have been made, correct, Bill?
Yeah, there's a lot of Sharknadoes.
Yeah. So, but this is the final
Final Destination.
Final Destination. Thank you.
Yeah, part 6, part 7.
Yeah. And I don't know that they put the part on it, which is probably a smart move. They have a subtitle, right? Like, but it's got like in the 80s, 80-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. So people are liking it.
When you don't number the parts, it's always fresh, isn't it? That's pretty good strategy, I think.
Yeah. It's like comic books. Back when I was a kid and you collect comic books, and, you know, up in the upper left-hand corner, they have a little emblem that's unique to the comic. And then they have a number, which is the number issue, right? And of course, back then it was 20 cents. And then they also have a month, okay? The 3 letters of the month, SEP, OCT. You understand how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Well, the deal was that in the comic book industry, at least at the time, when they put the month on, they didn't put the month it was being published. They put the month that was 3 months away, with the theory that that would prolong its shelf life and still look like it was new.
Yeah. And if you saw a comic book out that had a future date on it, like you're like, oh, I got it early. So maybe people were a little more excited to get them as well. Do you still have the comic books you collected?
Niagara Falls. Slowly I turned, step by step.
What does that mean? There's a story behind that. Tell us the
It
story.
means everything, my friend. This is it's a classic sketch. Okay, it's a vaudeville sketch, and you can't play it. They have a funny one on YouTube with Lou Costello. I think Abbott's there too. But anyway, the deal is this: is that there's two guys. Okay, it's a vaudeville sketch, and they don't know each other. And in this case, they're in a jail cell with Costello because he can't get away. See, that's important. You can't get away from the guy. The guy's perfectly nice, and everything, but he's telling you this horrible story about, he went to Niagara Falls on his wedding and something horrible happened and his wife ran away with this other guy. And ever since he ran, sobbing for her, right?
Now I'm
And then
sad for your comic books.
what?
Now I'm sad for the lost relationship of you and your comic books. Because now
Okay,
I
well,
know
I'll turn your sadness into laughter here in a second. Okay. So thank you, though. That's very nice of you. Now you're gonna make me cry.
about your comic books.
I was only acting. Anyway, I was talking about what's I talking about? The comic books, right?
Tell me about how you lost your comic
No,
book.
Niagara Falls. And so
Yeah.
anytime he hears the words Niagara Falls, he loses his composure. He just goes completely bananas. And the other guy says, "Oh, really? Just when you hear Niagara Falls?" And the guy says, "Niagara Falls. Slowly I turn." Oh, because he caught the guy. He caught the guy and he was beating him and he beat him within an inch of his life. That was it. So Niagara Falls. Oh, and then he had to go to prison. Okay, so it's this horrible story. It's horrible as you can make it, okay? But he has to beat the guy up. So every time he hears Niagara Falls, slowly I turned, step by step. I hit him in the face, and then I kneed him in the groin, and all the stuff that he's revisiting upon the poor schmo who says Niagara Falls. And of course, the poor schmo keeps accidentally saying Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And it just gets funnier and funnier, at least
Yeah.
if it's, Costello, right? So watch it after the show. Don't watch it during the show, okay? Anyway, so what I'm saying is, so that when you said, so what happened to your comic books? I said, Niagara Falls. Slowly I turned. That is a touchy subject, one which would probably be best not broached in the here and now.
Well, then I'll just tell you my reason for asking. My reason for asking was if you did still have them, if you did.
Boy, twist that knife.
I'm sorry, but I have to at least note this observation, which is they would be worth more than the words of all the prophets except for the living one.
You're right.
They would be worth more.
Well, they would be.
Than all the prophets except for the current one. And someday he'll be dead too. There's a great truth there, my friend.
I think I'm going to drown my sorrows.
They truly are. He was telling the truth when he said that the words of dead prophets are worth less than collector comic books.
I know. That was really, really amazing that he said that. That's one of the best lines I've ever heard in General Conference ever.
Yeah, he said the quiet thing out loud.
Yes. So the words of the prophets are written in the comic books. But yeah, I had over 1,000 titles, most of them Marvel. I did have some DC, okay? I know I give DC a bad time and it's justly deserved. But regardless of that, I never liked Superman, okay? Because first off, he's two-dimensional. They write them all two-dimensional at DC. It's like part of the I don't know, the job description. And then they carried it over into the movies. Why let a good thing go to waste? So, but Superman, he's boring. He's boring. He can do everything. I mean, like the big debate is who would win in a race, 100-yard dash, Superman or the Flash. Why should Superman even have a chance? Can't the Flash do something that Superman can't? No, unfortunately, no. He can do everything. So he's boring. Although the first movie was Steve Reeves, right? Christopher Reeves. Boy, I'm so sorry. Steve Reeves. No, that was 1950.
George Reeves.
Yeah, George Reeves, but Steve Reeves was like in Gladiator movies.
Hmm.
Yeah, his name gets mentioned in a song from Rocky Horror, I think.
The fact that George Reeve played Superman and Christopher Reeves played Superman, that would be a Book of Mormon bullseye.
You know, you're right. You're right. Even though there is an S at the end, but strangely, the S is not there in the Great Isaiah Scroll.
No, it's not in.
No, in the Great Isaiah Scroll, it's just Christopher Reeve. It's only in the King James version that it has the extra S.
Yes, it is. So if you missed Mormonism Live's episode, you might want to go back and check that out. Seraphim. Yes.
Okay, so anyway, so I got all these comic books, right? Are we going to talk about anything other than this? Because, you know,
Oh, by the
I am unusually reflective right now, and I
love it.
apologize for that. And I've got verbal diarrhea because I'm reflecting. I'm doing this thing that I never ever do, and believe me, there's a good reason for it, because you don't want to look back behind you because something may be catching up.
No. I think the audience very much appreciates opportunities to get to know you and I think part of the gold of this show is to have opportunities to talk about things that have happened to us. I'll just note one more thing, and we can move on from it. But just notice, comic books are for kids. FYI. I mean, he told you the truth.
Who are we talking about right now?
The guy in General Conference who said that
right.
all the prophets words are
Mr. Haney?
Yeah, Mr. Haney.
Mr. Haney? Was that Elder Haney?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Again, we all had a collection. We'd have a collection. But comic
Mine
books
had over 1,000, mostly Marvel. And, you know, I got, it became important to me to try and take good care of them.
Yeah.
By the way, did I mention I'm being reflective because I'm writing my story, my book, and I have to reflect back on things. And I will tell you something. I will tell you something that, I'm sorry?
How's that going, by the way?
It's going really, really well. I'm excited. I'm surprised because now that I'm writing the story of my life,
Yeah.
I'm starting to be able to see it from other people's perspectives better.
Mm.
And it's probably just because I never took the time to even think that that would be worth thinking about.
Mm.
But like a certain situation, very traumatic for everybody in the family. But how did my dad look at that? What was that like for my dad? I had never thought of that. I'd given a little thought to my mom and a lot of thought to me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all the center of our own universe, so it's very natural. And when you're young, especially, that comes really, that's just the way life goes. That's how our brains work and how we think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's super cool. I'm glad to hear it's coming along. You were already going to something else. And if you remember it, that's great.
Oh, I do remember, because I do have to say it, and I've already missed two. Look, here's the thing. I wanted to make an announcement. I did a week ago on a night just like tonight, on a show just like this show. I made the announcement that I'm trying to work on this book, and so I'm going to be really very slow on being able to respond to messages, whether it's on Facebook or email or whatever. And only because I've gotten to the point where there are so many people that I am responding or corresponding with that it's taking up basically all my extra time. And that's why I've had to put off writing this book, or at least that's the excuse I'm assigning to it. Okay.
Yeah.
But I realized 10 days ago, whenever it was, that this is what I need to do time management wise, and ask that everybody out there that hears from me in a somewhat regular fashion, who I really appreciate, be patient with me, and that I'm trying to get this book written, and hopefully, I'll dedicate it to all of you then, all of you who are patient with me, or maybe my mom and my dad. Which should I do? The people who are patient with me, or my mom and my dad?
I think you should do it in honor of your mother and your dad, but I think you should do it in honor of whoever you feel honored to write the book on behalf of, the people who shared life experiences with you.
Fair enough. It's you, Bill.
Look at that. Nice. I
Done.
can't wait. I love it. I'm excited for you to get this finished, and I'm excited to promote it and give people a chance who have followed you, at least in the podcast world. And some folks who call in have followed you far beyond that. And you've done a lot of work in the apologetic space. You've done a lot of work in the critical space, pointing out, shining a light on the things that it's not doing in a healthy way or obscuring from people. But you're a really interesting person. Whenever you've had conversations about the other things, like Mormonism like the back of your hand, but also a lot of things about a lot of things. And as one of the callers was saying a few weeks ago, it's a credit to how much hard work you've put in to read and think and read again and think again, and the thoughts that come out from that, and your ability to remember the things that have had deep impact on you because you've spent intimate time with those sources, those books. So kudos to you for writing your story and telling folks how you traveled this journey, because you've had so many interesting things just in the Mormon space that I know you can speak of. And then you've got all this experience with these other things. And I think it'll be interesting for people to see you inside your head, because they don't get as much of that as maybe they think they get. And I think the book will be very fun to read, and enjoyable way to get to know you better.
Thank you. That is my goal. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. I really appreciate that, Bill. It's very nice of you.
Awesome. Before we go to the slideshow, which we've already gone quite a ways here, but we've got
it's time to sign off.
No, not quite. But
Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight.
So we do have 2 calls in the call queue. I'm going to go to the first one.
Oh, yes.
Let me turn that on. Caller, what's the name?
DG.
BG?
DG, like Dollar General.
DG, like Dollar General. Okay. How are you, DG?
Good. Calling from Lubbock, Texas.
Nice. The great state of Texas. Yeah, hook 'em
Have we talked before? Up on the Llano Estacado?
Yes, I call. Yeah, long time. It's been several weeks. I'm late. I've been trying to catch up with you guys, and here we are. RFM's alma mater and my alma mater played in the softball World College Series.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Alma mater won.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, Texas Tech played Texas. Yeah.
And who won?
Hook 'em horns.
So anyway,
Yeah.
Tech UT did. 2 games out of 3.
I shouldn't do that because that's the wrong school when they do that. You know that, right, Bill?
I don't know anything about what school that is.
I don't want to do that. No, I got to do that.
That's right.
Yeah. In Texas, that doesn't mean thumbs up.
Yeah. No.
I think it
Mike
means
Leach,
gig
one of the
number.
greatest coaches in college football, came from Texas Tech. He was here, and he was LDS. It's interesting.
Really?
Yes. Anyway, a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I caught y'all on Mormonism Live. I guess it was last week or week before. You were talking about Douglas Stringfellow and Paul H. Dunn. In fact, I think RFM, you posed the question to Bill Reel and maybe to the audience as well. Who should have, if you were going to cast a verdict on either one of those, what would it be? And I thought that Paul H. Dunn was the more egregious of the two. As a U.S. tax-paying, land-owning citizen, Stringfellow using his fame and fortune to go to Congress, well, that's fine. I think that only affected people in Utah, because I don't know of any massive legislation that he worked on that, cost us anything. But as a former Mormon, Paul H. Dunn, I think, was far more egregious with what he did. I think it was one of the Mormon Stories podcasts where Lynn Packer was interviewed by John Boleyn, because he broke the story about Paul H. Dunn lying for the Lord and how it was all fake. But Paul H. Dunn, I think it was in that same podcast episode, or one of them, where Lynn Packer basically said it was Paul H. Dunn along with Boyd K. that started the correlated and course of instruction for the church, and basically laid the groundwork for what we know as the modern CES system the church uses today. And and that
I thought Harold B. Lee was big
it was
on that.
he may have been, but I'm pretty sure it was Paul H. Dunn. I think Lynn Packer's interview, he said it was Paul H. Dunn. Boyd K. was so stricken with Paul H. Dunn that Paul H. Dunn had done a lot of work with institutes out in California, and when they met in Salt Lake annually for whatever conference it was, they got together, and that was the point at which the church started getting away from science, logic, and reason, and into the more touchy-feely, you know, it's how you feel that should determine your course of action, and laid the groundwork for a correlated course of instruction, which, you know, I think is what's hurting a lot of members even today. But and that was just my take. You know, I thought Paul H. Dunn did a far worse job and had probably more of an impact worldwide with regards to what he did inside the church than what Stringfellow did in Washington, D.C. Of course, they were both. Stringfellow was, of course, injured. I don't think Paul H. Dunn was injured, although he may have claimed to in some of his talks. And growing up in the 70s, listening to Dunn's talks, you know, it was amazing. These stories of no atheists in foxholes, and he's there, you know, in Guadalcanal or wherever it was when they were invading the islands leading up to the end of World War II. But I just thought Paul H. Dunn was far more egregious in what his actions within the church, what he did within the church, than what Stringfellow did without. But that was just my opinion, my take on that.
I appreciate that.
The other thing I wanted to...
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when you tell a version of yourself that isn't trustable to the general public in positions of power and authority, people collectively feel things. Both of those situations, again, I'm not going to sit here and debate like which one's worse. I agree that Paul H. Dunn's lies almost certainly caused more net harm. I don't see how Stringfellow's lies hurt anyone other than the soldiers, and their thing counts. The soldiers who served and deserved the credit for what it was that he was stealing from. That's horrific. But the number of people that have their testimonies boosted and endure more religious unhealthy behaviors and toxic and shameful sort of mechanisms that happen inside religion, that net harm is, I think, more significant.
Yeah, agreed. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and I wanted to ask both of you, especially you, Bill, because I remember hearing your story with John DeLynn some time ago, and you're a former bishop. I wanted to ask about the church with regards to Boy Scouts of America, not the sexual assault or the sexual abuse cases necessarily, but I remember growing up as a scout. In fact, Susan's husband was my scout advisor here in Texas way back in the day. He was Brother Elder Bednar. Of course, we knew him as Brother Bednar back in those days. He was actually.
Did he have the same haircut?
Yes.
Did he have the same haircut?
He did. He did indeed.
They took the bowl with him when they moved.
We used to joke. It was funny because we used to joke about how Coach, who was the coach of the Cowboy?
Landry.
Jerry Jones.
Jimmy
it was always
Johnson.
Well,
it was Tom Landry.
It was Johnson.
Yeah.
Not Tom Landry. It was Johnson.
Yeah,
you know how his hair. It didn't matter how bad the game was going. His hair never changed, and we used to joke because.
Right.
In my youth, we knew Bednar as a football. He was a football star. You know, he claimed to be a football star out of California, and he would always talk. His talks always centered on football and how Jesus had called us to be a part of the team, and he was the quarterback. Anyway, I wanted to ask if you could, and maybe you have, and I've missed it because there's so much content out in the blogosphere and the podcastosphere. Maybe you've already covered the Boy Scouts, but I would love to see y'all do a similar treatment regarding the history of the Boy Scouts with regards to the church's involvement with the Boy Scouts, how it was, if not the largest religious organization that took part in Boy Scouts, it was among the largest. It had quite a pull, had a lot of sway, what the church was able to get the Scout organization to do over so many years. And I didn't realize this because I'm outside the Morador. I did not realize how many camps and lodges and buildings and land the church had that just dealt with scouts, all just for the scouts. having grown up in the 1980s or late 70s, early 80s, and I got my Eagle Scout, as most of us did. I remember varsity scouts, and this was a unique thing to the church, I was told. And we had a varsity troop in our ward, and I've read what little information is out there, but I'd love for you guys to do a historical treatment like you have in so many other areas of the church of the scouts and the church with it relating scouts, especially varsity scouts, because what I was told by my scoutmaster at the time was this was the church's invention.
Yeah.
At the time, I think, so this would have been late 80s, the courts were ruling that gays could be admitted as leaders within the Boy Scouts, or that was at least on the horizon, I think. And the church was trying to head that off. And so varsity scouts was posed as the solution or answer to that. And what I remember being told in my youth as a varsity scout was if the church ever abandoned the scout program, the varsity program would be the scouting program. And the church would do as it's done so many other times and just plagiarize somebody else's work, and that would then be its program going forward. I don't know. Do y'all know anything about this? Can you shed any additional light? Is there a better answer? I was always curious why the varsity program was started, and
my tangential knowledge of this, which is not in depth at all, and it's 20 years old. Not when I was in the Scouts, but when I was in a bishopric, briefly. That in a very small ward that had something to do with Scouts. My understanding was that, okay, the matchup between Scouts and LDS is not perfect. So you've got Scouts, right? But you also have over here in the LDS thing, Scouts is depending upon how quickly you go up. But you're right, there was varsity. Varsity was supposed to be for the older ones. That's what I was told. It was for the older ones, basically priest age, to give them the opportunity to go off and do some more exciting things than they would normally be doing in the regular troop. That's what was my understanding.
Right.
Yeah, same. Well, thank you, caller.
Okay.
Thank you for both questions.
And just so you guys know, you can break the fourth wall anytime. Saka, when the walls fell, just collapse those walls. RFM in Utah, Bill Reel in Utah, Bill Reel and RFM, when the walls fell. So just wonderful listening to you. That's a Star Trek Next Generation reference if you are lost on that. Anyway.
I'm so glad I didn't get that
very
one.
much enjoy.
Awesome. Have a great
Thank you so much.
I stumped RFM. Wow, great.
Yes, and happy to be stumped in
Take care,
mine.
guys.
Easy. Bye-bye.
Happy to be stumped in mine. Oh, yes.
Elder Bednar's hair. It reminds me of like a baby when it comes through the birth canal and it's born with hair and it's just like slimed, it doesn't look like that. No, RFM, you're understanding me wrong. It doesn't look like that.
No, I'm just okay.
It reminds me of that.
It reminds you of Elder Bednar reminds you of a baby coming through the birth canal.
With this like the wet. I'm not saying it looks like that. I'm not making a joke about Elder Bednar's hair. I'm just one human being who experiences that when I look at Elder Bednar, it reminds me of a baby that's come through the birth canal with hair. Not the bald ones, the one that's got the full head. You're like, oh, he's got a whole head of hair, that kind of thing.
I think what's confusing you on this whole thing is that when you look at him, you just want to give him a good slap.
No, yeah.
And all the rest of the baby stuff is just piled on top of
that. So there's that. I was going to go to the slideshow here.
Yes, I wanted to let you know something. Oh,
Please.
Right. This happened because on Monday, right, we're doing that huge thing about the IRS and the church, the evidence that the church was engaged in tax evasion. And I went back to check some of the comments a couple days later, and someone named Sheldon Jackson, yes, that's Sheldon, says, as is typical of you apostate demon clowns, you make a mountain out of a molehill. And I thought that was so good. I took a screenshot of that and put it on my Facebook page. And then, unbeknownst to me, Rebecca Biblioteca did her own magic with this. And that should be the next slide. This is what she created. This is our greatest hits album.
I love
Mormonism Live, apostate demon clowns, greatest hits, parental advisory,
Mhm.
explicit content. I
Yes.
thought that was fantastic.
If one of us, if you or I did something that was criminal, do you think these guys would make it as, no, that's no big deal. It's no big deal. He, whatever it was, we embezzled, money. We evaded
Oh,
taxes.
are
We
you what you're saying? I'm so sorry. I'm still just in love with this clown. So
apostate demon clowns.
it's great. It's fantastic. But so what you're saying is if we did something that was equivalent to what the leaders of the church have been doing,
Yeah.
and if there was as much evidence that we had done the same thing, would
Yeah.
he be saying the same thing about us as he's saying about the church leaders?
And our own folks, the folks who follow, have a higher standard. The people who listen to you and me wouldn't tolerate that kind of bullshit. They wouldn't be listening to you or me. If you got caught doing the craziest of things, or I got caught doing the craziest thing, and there's evidence
What do you
out
have
there
in mind, Bill?
that
What's
you
crazy to you?
just that kind of thing, where the federal government would have you in, if the allegations
Oh,
are
you mean
true,
just like this? You're talking about this kind of stuff with the tax
yeah,
rate.
financial fraud against the federal government.
Hmm.
Multiple times at this point, if this allegation turns out to be true.
Yeah.
It's just dirty. And when I posted, by the way, I put this in a Thoughtful Faith, the Jacob Hansen Facebook group, and I was met 80% of the responses probably were, I wish they would have cheated more. I wish they would have gotten away with more of it. No, the federal government doesn't deserve anybody's tax money. That was the response from those defending the faith, because they had to, on the surface, immediately deal with the fact that the church was seemingly guilty of it. They weren't
Mhm.
protecting the church from guilt. They were protecting the church from, the guilt doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they did it. I wish they'd do it 100 times more.
Can I tell you that it's really interesting that that happens, just psychologically speaking,
Mhm.
because by leaning into it that way and making that kind of an argument, what they're demonstrating is the problem. In other words, their argument is revealing the problem
Mhm.
that causes this in the first place. And the problem, as I see it, is that the church and its members largely do not think the laws apply to them if it comes to a choice between following the law or doing what the church wants me to do.
A good Mormon always faces the group. It doesn't bring the information to the lead. The leaders are in charge.
Yeah,
Your
remember
job
which way you face. Boyd
Yeah.
Kilpatrick again.
Whatever we do, it will be right, even if it doesn't seem like it's right. And you will justify it being right because you're a good Mormon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let me
Gross.
see here if we got this next thing. Is this where we get into? Yeah, just a little bit more of culture. I mentioned culture earlier, didn't I?
Yeah.
See, we came around to it. This is what started the end for Culture. Okay, this was his last podcast in which he was talking about Ward Radio, and they were critiquing a Ward Radio show. And somebody in the live chat posts a comment, and the comment just says, "The abuse in this church is just disgusting." It's not the comment that's significant here. What's significant is the picture that was put on this, okay? Now, the reason, because the picture is one of Cultural Hall. And he's a bit younger there. And this picture, Cultural Hall knows, was taken from Cultural Hall's business page. I believe I have that correct. And Cultural Hall, I think you're out there. If you want to call in, correct me, please do if I get anything wrong here. Okay. So, but it's something that the normal person wouldn't see unless they're going around and snooping, right? So this person takes this picture, represents this picture as their picture, and then the name that they use is Culture's real name.
Yeah.
First and last. That's why it's marked out here. Okay. But it's first and last, and then Culture's picture from his business page.
Can I say
saying
something here?
yeah, please.
He loves that you're doing this.
Oh,
He
yeah.
loves that you're doing this. He he craves this. He's watching right now and he loves it
Mhm.
that you're covering this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not going to cover this much more, but there is something else that came up, and this is with Colch's sanction. Okay. So,
I see you.
so you got to see that, right? And so that was over in the live chat, but Colch made the specific point. He saw it. He knew what it meant. Okay. He knew it's somebody trying to dox him and trying to make a point. And Cultural Hall was just getting to the point where he is finally getting past that because of people doing this kind of crap. And so Cultural Hall puts the comment up on the screen for everybody to see and calls it out and talks about it. See? So that's why it's up there on the screen. And that's what he's talking about on his last podcast. Now, after that happened, then a person, okay, started emailing Colch and Colch's wife, who's never been a member of the church, making all these harassing and threatening suggestions regarding their business, threatening their livelihood. Okay. I haven't seen the emails, okay, but I know that they were concerning enough that Colch's wife says, "Nope, I did not sign up for this, and this is over." And Colch said, "Yeah, I see your point." And he
Yeah.
took down all of his videos. So that's what started it. And it was because it happened, this part happened, which did seem to be an obvious precursor to what's going to happen within like 36 hours with all those emails, right? Colch
Yeah,
thought that because they were criticizing Word Radio when this happened, that was likely, they were the likely suspects or people who followed them. But then last week, we brought up some evidence that indicated that it might have been somebody else. That it could have even been Dives, right? We talked about that. Was that last week or the week before, Bill?
that was last week, I believe.
Okay. So here's the thing. Something else has come up. And oh, that's right, because last week we played the video that Dives made of him being Lionel Richie.
Yeah. Am I the one
Hello,
you're looking
is it me
for?
you're looking for when he actually says it?
Yeah.
Okay, is it me you're looking for? Right. Okay, so Dives has made another video, which he sent to Cultural Hall, I think even after the Lionel Richie video went up. All right. So it's recent. Now we're not going to play the whole thing. What it is it's a scene from Breakfast Club where Dives puts his face over Emilio Estevez. And he tries to put, it's not clear to me, but he tries to put Rebecca Biblioteca's face on Ali Sheedy, I think it is. And there's this moment. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. This whole thing has nothing to do with anything about Cultural Hall. Okay. And really all they're talking about, the joke is about the garments. Okay. And the new garments. And how did you get the new garments? Okay. That's all it is. But watch what happens here in the first 5 seconds. All right. Because this is the way it was sent by Dives to Cultural Hall. I don't know how many times it took Cultural Hall to see this. I know I didn't see it the first time, and I was trying to look for something. So look in the bottom right-hand corner. What?
He loves this. He loves this. He loves this. He loves that we're going over this. He loves that we're showing his art. He loves that he's put this
We
together.
can stop right now.
Yeah. No. We're gonna show it because the audience deserves to see this, to understand all of this as it's coming together. This is too big of a deal.
Okay, so the next thing is this video, right?
Yeah.
From Breakfast Club?
I'm talking more to him than to you, RFM.
Okay.
Yeah. He loves this. All right. Yes, go ahead and go to your next one. And do you want to
Okay.
explain this part to people?
Oh, thank you very much, Bill.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I think one more.
So
after.
I just, this is just a close-up of the picture of Cultural Hall. So
Yeah.
you can see that it is he.
Mhm.
And he's got some glasses on there, okay? And here's the next thing. Okay, so here's what you're going to see, okay? I'll just show you what you're going to see. I'm going to tell you what you'll see, and then you'll see it. It's a great magic trick, right? Unfortunately, this is not a trick. It's actually real. So what's going to happen? That's Emilio Estevez, okay? Cultural Hall's face. And what you're going to see is in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, see this ghostly image?
Bottom right-hand corner, right?
Did I say left?
Mhm.
Of course I did. I meant from Emilio's point of view. No,
Yes,
I
right.
said it wrong. Okay. From the bottom right-hand corner, okay?
Yeah.
That's it's not just culture, it's that same picture of culture.
Same one.
The same one. And here's the blow up of it, okay, of the same image. Now it pops up slowly. It's there for a second and then it goes down. So much so that you have to really be looking for it to see it. So we've
Yeah.
got the first 5 seconds of this minute-long clip. We're not going to play the whole thing because we don't have a problem with copyrights or strikes or anything like
Be
that.
fair use for sure. All right, here we go. Let me add that to the stage. And I just need
Does
to
that look like Rebecca Biblioteca to you?
I think aren't the faces superimposed, right? Like it's
Yeah.
Emilio Estevez and somebody else, but yeah, I think I almost think that might be Rebecca, sort of half Rebecca and half the person that was originally. And
Okay.
same with Emilio Estevez. It's not exactly all Dives either.
Well, I can see him in that face.
Yeah. So anyway, here it is.
To your face. There it is. See it? And now it's gone. That was it.
Yeah.
Play it again. Bam. I know. He never said it in the movie. There it is. That's the one that got me.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this?
You think it's fun and games. You're getting off on this, but you're right at the threshold now, and I sort of know that you can't stop. You don't know how to stop, but you're creating enough that it would be difficult, because here's the thing you're up against, Dives. Let's say you're not guilty of harassing someone. Let's say it's not you. Let's say when somebody shows up at your door to ask you questions, you say, not me. I'm just playing around. I'm just being funny. See, you've already crossed the line of not being funny. Like no one on any side thinks you're funny. They just think you're being a douche canoe. And so now your argument is, I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy who's doing it, but I'm still doing the really rude thing that no one else would do, which means it's just easier to believe you're the guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's no good answer why it is that I think I need to take down.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Now is it okay? There we go. I don't
Yeah.
think there's any good excuse for why it is that Colch put that in there. I said Colch, I meant Dives. That Dives put Colch's face, the same image that was used in the guy who doxed him, in his video. Okay? Because the video doesn't have anything to do with Cultural Hall. He's not mentioned. He's not referenced in any way. It's not about that. It's Rebecca Biblioteca, right? And that's what he puts in there, and he sends it to Cultural Hall.
Yeah, I'm not the guy who would do that. I'm the guy who would do this, which is still really shitty.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I don't know. You're twisting
we're
the
going
knife.
to pause the show for 5 minutes while we all go take a shower.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the phone lines. If anybody wants to call regarding that would be great. 662-667. Trevor Larson. Trevor, how are you?
Trevor Larson?
Good. How are you? It's one.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Excellent. What's new in your world, my
Nice.
friend?
Oh, not much. The other night I was on a Ladder Daily Digest with the Tuesdays with Tim, and I was talking with them about my Mormon story, and it got me thinking about a story from my brother's mission I wanted to share.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Are you waiting for permission?
Yeah. You
Yes,
got
you
our
may go forward because you're very funny in the live chat, and I expect
Okay.
you to be at least as funny on the show.
Yeah.
No chance. But since I didn't go on my own, and I was thinking why, and this is a story that came to my mind. I'm not sure how much it weighed, but who knows? But anyway, he was on his mission in far south Texas in McAllen, around the border of Mexico. And one night he got awoken by a phone call. I'm just curious, do you have any guesses who was on the other line?
Wait a second. The Pope? When was this?
No, he got called by a phone call in the middle of the night. He got awoken by the phone.
I don't know. Do we get to know when this was? Like what year?
Oh, it was like the mid 2000s, early 2000s.
Was he getting a call that the priesthood ban was being lifted? And did he then sit down on a pile of dirt and
No.
weep for joy?
with his 2 boys.
Is that what it was?
Well, it was his mission. It was his mission companion on the other line, on the end of the phone from jail.
Interesting.
Yes.
And so what had happened is his companion would sneak out in the middle of the night and go rob cars.
Rob
take
cars?
Yeah, and one night he got caught, and so then he called my brother from jail. And so my brother had to call the mission president.
Man, oh man.
He's stealing
Yeah,
cars. He's
yeah.
stealing cars.
Interesting. No, he was stealing like stuff in the cars.
So he's
So in
okay, so
hindsight,
he's
my
stealing
brother
stuff
was
out
like,
of
I
the
wonder
cars.
why
That's why
you
he's
had.
robbing. And then what's he
Yeah,
doing
like
with it?
he
Is he
my
going to the
brother.
pawn store?
What was that?
And then what's he doing? He's going
Yeah,
to the
my
pawn
brother in
store?
hindsight was like, well, my brother was wondering like why he had so many pairs of like sunglasses and like CDs and stuff. And that's why.
Yeah.
So what did your brother do?
Yeah, he just called the president and then like had a meet with them or whatever and whatnot. And they kind of obviously kicked him out and moved on.
Send him home. Send that kid home. He was done for what we needed to use him for.
Yeah, but that like with a lot of things, obviously countless other things, is like kind of a chips that like this probably isn't true. Because how they not detect that guy?
Well, hopefully he got over his theft tendencies and went on to lead a productive life. Maybe he's listening right now.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Who knows? Gonna rob car? I don't know. I have no idea. That's crazy. It's a great story. I like it. It's unusual. It shows a lot of initiative.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Mental acumen.
All right, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, no problem.
You bet. Thanks for calling.
Mental acumen.
Thanks.
Yeah. Have a great night. Appreciate the phone call, my friend. Mental acumen. I can vouch for the audience on that. They're the best of the best. Now their character, I can't vouch for.
It's all over the board.
It's all over
Trust
the
me.
board. Look at these
human is incredible.
Look at them. These rogues.
Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I.
Oh boy. So back to the dives thing for a moment. And then talk about the event. What do you think? Like, what it's happened enough times now that you've got to have some feeling about this guy and what he's doing and why he's motivated to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts?
2 words.
Yeah.
I'm packing.
Yeah. That's sort of what you're left with. Yeah. All right. Well, there's that. What time do we've got? 9:11. So I don't have any phone calls in the queue. If somebody does want to call.
No.
662.
Well, I think there's some more things I want to talk about. Let's see about the slides, can we?
Yeah. So
we wanted to talk about this. This is important. Can I talk
do
about this? You always talk about this.
Please do. I would love it if you did.
And by that, I mean, he always takes the laboring oar on these things, and it's not really fair.
Yeah.
To Bill. So we got another event. We had one in down in your neck of the woods in St. George back in May. It was a great time. I had a great time. I think everybody had a great time. And we're going to do another one in Salt Lake City. It's going to be scheduled in and around Sunstone. It's actually going to be the Saturday night of Sunstone. So if you're doing Sunstone, we're not trying to compete with Sunstone, but we figure there's going to be some people in Salt Lake who aren't going to go to Sunstone who might want to come to this anyway. And other than that, it's going to be August 2nd. That's the date, right? And I can't read those small details, and you probably know them better than I do. It starts at 5:00, right?
Starts at 5, ends at 10. It's the Boys and Girls Club in Salt Lake City is the building facility that we're using. A listener was kind enough to make a connection for us to be able to do that. And so if you'll go on and register, and I'll put that link into the chat. I just did this a second ago. So here's the little note about it. Register here, and it is that donorbox.org events. And you should be able to just copy and paste that out of the chat. But it will be also in the description, the YouTube description just below as well. And so if you go there, you can register for the event. August 2nd, 5 to 10. Food included in the price. And we're really excited to see you guys.
And it should be good food, huh?
It should be good food. By the way, folks can speak to that last time as well. We had barbecue ribs. We had a certain chicken that I think was really good. And then there were submarine sandwiches for those who were picky.
It was so good. And unfortunately, I didn't get to eat any of it because, I was so nervous. This is the first time we've done this. And then I almost baked alive from the inside out like I was in a microwave because it was so hot in there.
We rented a facility and they forgot to turn their off hours on for us. So it just shut down to conserve energy in the building. And it was set to heat and 76 degrees. And at about 78 degrees, 79 degrees, somebody was able to get the cover off the thing.
Yes.
And we were able to lower the temperature manually.
He's still my hero.
Yeah, it was locked. It was locked. I'm not sure if it was a magic trick or we broke in, but something happened. So there's that. But yes, August 2nd. So anything else you want to say about that?
No, but I do want to. Can I tell a story about this?
Please.
Okay. Ursus Horribles, the horrible bear, says, "You nervous, RFM?" Funny story about that. Okay, so I was in court a few years back. I'm representing this kid, which I mean, he's in his 20s or something like that. We got a beef with the Department of Corrections and the probation, but that's really not important. We've come to court on a number of occasions, and we are special set, so it's just us in the courtroom, and his family's there behind us. We're waiting for the judge to come out, and I got my briefcase, and I'm pulling out all my crap. Here's the file, and here's the legal pads, and here's the pens, and here's the rules and all this kind of stuff, right? And as I'm doing that, my client, he says to me, he says, "Hey, RFM," he says, "do you ever get nervous?" And I look over and I said, "Every time." And then I kept pulling my stuff out. It's true. That's the funny part.
Yeah. Pulling your stuff out. I'm sorry.
Of my briefcase. What were you doing?
Well,
when I was talking about pulling things out of my briefcase.
I was trying to get the other phone call.
I figured you must have been distracted.
Yeah, I was distracted by the phone line. So
the phone lines.
Anyway, my bad. It does help when you tell a joke if your cohort laughs when the shit is funny. And if the shit was funny, I didn't laugh, but I also am responsible to go get the phone call.
I know you are.
Sure things are there and double check and make sure.
Martha, you are busy and troubled with many things.
So don't bore the audience by telling it again. But when this show's over,
excuse me, they would love to hear that again. That was like one of the best stories they've heard all week.
Tell it again, then, please.
And I said,
"No."
I looked at him. I said, "Every time." And then I went back to pulling things out of my briefcase.
Okay.
There you go. So what do we have? Is there someone who's called?
Yes. So they had, but now they're not there. So now I feel like a village idiot.
Maybe it was Barry Richens.
Maybe. So there's that. So go ahead, my friend.
Why on earth did I don't even know why I did this one at this point, because this has been on the slide for at least a couple weeks. But I thought it was funny because all of a sudden I was on Facebook and I was scrolling, and for whatever, it's because, Bill, it was because I had mentioned Beyond the Black River. Remember?
Okay.
As being my favorite Conan story.
Okay.
I didn't get to the point of that, which is it has really about the only famous quote from Conan, which is at the end of it where it talks about it's right here next. Hang on, it'll get there. This is one I like, but beyond the Black River, that's a cool picture, huh?
Yeah, it's great.
This is the quote, right? Barbarism is the natural state of mankind. Civilization is unnatural. It is a whim of circumstance, and barbarism must always ultimately triumph.
Yeah, when shit goes south, it goes back to barbarism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert E. Howard, Beyond the Black River. And then I found this quote, and I'm not sure. It says Robert E. Howard. You know, I don't have Conan memorized or anything, but I kind of like this one. Could you read this one like Conan?
Yeah. There's nothing in the universe cold steel won't cut, answered Conan. I threw my axe at the demon, and he took no hurt. But I might have missed in the dust, or a branch deflected its flight. I'm not going out of my way looking for devils, but I wouldn't step out of my path to let one go by.
Isn't that good? I like that.
It's pretty
I
good.
think that's good. And especially the last part where he says, get to the chopper.
Yeah. I tried to start with a little bit of Arnold, but then I went to something a little different. So
No, it was good. Looks like he has his chopper over his shoulders.
Yeah.
A different kind of chopper there. But there's Beyond the Black River. Oh, we had done this before, hadn't we? Yeah, we talked about that.
See what I mean? They'll go back for a second.
What?
Again, it's not that hairdo, but doesn't it remind you of that? The birth canal. Come on, guys. You guys see it, right?
I've been trying to get us away from the birth canal for an hour and from dives for half an hour. But you keep bringing us back. Oh, yeah, there he is. This is what an angry lizard looks like. You ever gotten a lizard angry with you? You know, and you just sort of like tried to play with them once too many times and they're not interested. And they give you that look, that lizardy look, like, don't mess with me anymore. That's the look. Right there.
All right.
He seems to be mad that Ryan Reynolds is praying. I don't know why he'd be mad about that. You think he would want him to pray.
They were thinking about doing a Green Arrow Part 2.
That is like a cross
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. Like the worst. Oh my gosh. Even DC fans threw up on that one.
Robert Reynolds.
And that's Ryan, isn't it? Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah. There you go.
Who is Deadpool, who's famous for breaking the fourth wall. And thus we see that the ways of Mormonism After Dark are one eternal round.
There we go.
Okay, I don't think there's anything. Is there anything? Oh, that's so obscure now. Who the hell cares? Oh, this is a nice piece of art. I like this. This is like for my neck of the woods with North American, Native American, North Pacific Northwest, Native American art. It's just beautiful.
I like that a lot.
And I like the color scheme too. Orange being my favorite color. Oh, do you want to start talking about this now, Bill?
9:20. We've got a few minutes. This could take up a couple of minutes. Let me see if there's a phone call. We'll do that instead.
Okay.
Let me take this down.
Because Bill got the Missionary's Handbook from 1940.
Caller, what's the name?
Ryan.
All right, Ryan.
Ryan Reynolds.
Swimmer.
Ryan Swimmer.
Oh, Ryan Swimmer.
Not quite.
Okay.
There we go, Ryan.
I've just been. Yes.
All right. Tell us what you got. My friend.
You guys and Porch Time keep talking about this guy, Davis. I see him pop up on YouTube a lot, but who the hell is he?
So he is a content creator who makes a lot of cuts of other people's content and makes them sort of have funny conversations or the funny thing gets said. He does a Mormon news roundup. Again, he loves this, RFM. He adores this. The fact that we're doing this. This is.
You don't have to answer the question.
This could be him here asking.
I just said an asshole and been done with it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. That's funny.
I promise I'm not him.
Yeah. So he has a news show And what he's done over the last several months is escalate his behavior towards people to the point where he is impersonating people's email addresses and making somewhat subtle threats to people if it is dives. And that's the allegation. And there's enough evidence that he's at least being shitty, which you see.
Why is he coming after other ex-Mormons? It's just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
That you would have to ask him.
Great question. I don't think that's the motivation behind it. I don't think this is a game of ex-Mormons and Mormons. I think this is a game of he wants to be respected and he's not getting it.
Oh. Poor guy.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I had.
Okay. Have a great night.
Ryan, thanks for calling in.
Thanks.
Ryan Svema.
All right. We've got another call.
Oh,
So,
please be dice. Please be dice. Please be dice.
Caller, what's the name?
My name's Melissa. It's definitely not dives.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced yet.
Oh, okay, great. Hey, I got a question, and I was a single mom of 7 kids. I was 50 years old. I hadn't been attending church for a couple of years because the cognitive dissonance was way too painful. But I couldn't let go of the religion because I had this whole eternal family thing stuck in my head. And here's my question. I found my very first post-Mormon podcast or episode. I don't know which channel it was on, so I'm not sure. I'm hoping it's one of yours, and you can help me find this thing. I've never been able to find it again. I watched an episode where there was a post-Mormon panel that was responding to, it was John By the Way and Hank Smith did a Come Follow Me series on YouTube. Do you know what I'm talking about? They did one on DNC section 132, and the response video by the post-Mormon panel, the clarity was just, it was painful. I cried for days, and then I was finally able to let go of the limbo I'd been stuck in for years. Yeah. And I would love to find, do you know anything about that? Does that sound at all familiar to either one of you? I know it's a crazy question, and it's totally unrelated.
I'm sorry. I mean, it could be infants on. How long ago was this?
This was probably, it popped up in my feed 2 years ago. And I don't know, it was probably within a year old at the time. So maybe the last 3 years.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar. RFM's the best guess, which is Infants on Thrones, unless someone in the audience.
Or Mormon Stories, maybe.
Yeah, somebody in the audience is going to know what this
or maybe
is.
Mormon Matters.
Yeah, it could be.
But you could see it. I'm so sorry, but it was on YouTube.
It was on YouTube. It was a video. It had several people, but because it was my very first post-Mormon anything, I didn't recognize any of the players.
Was Infants on Thrones ever on YouTube?
I'm trying to go back and find it.
They might be. I'll take a look right now. And if anybody,
I just listened to the audio, so I'm not sure if they were. Mormon Stories is my best guess.
Okay. I've tried to find it there, and I have not been successful, but I've had close friends who've asked me what it was, and if I could direct them, and I can't because I cannot find this bluff. It showed up exactly when I needed it, did exactly what it needed to do, and has since disappeared. So,
well, the memory lingers on. It will never be as impactful to you again as it was the first time.
Who is the other person caller? John By the Way, and who?
John By the Way, she said, and Hank Smith.
Yeah, thank you.
It was after the Come Follow Me came out in the church, and they were doing like the Sunday school lessons. Okay. And the lesson was on DNC 132, and they had some female church historian who was giving, the Mormon context, the believing context.
Well, that should narrow it down. It would probably be at the end of a year in which they're studying the Doctrine and Covenants.
Okay, that's true. I did not mean to take up all of your time. I thought maybe it might have been one of the episodes and it would be quick.
Yeah, back in the live chat, I'm going to share a link. I did find a YouTube channel for the Follow Him podcast. And those two seem to be involved. So I'm going to give you, in the live chat, I'm going to post a URL link for the YouTube channel where you can go and see all of their content. And I'm sure if that's the channel, you'll find it there.
So that's the believing content, right?
Yeah, by the way,
the one I'm looking for is the response video.
We've got someone saying that they think it was a Mormon Stories with Sandra Tanner.
Oh, okay. That would help Harold. Yeah. Anytime you search DNC 132, you get all kinds of content. But
and a lot of it's been taken down and then put up and then taken down again.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense. And I wonder if they were taking excerpts from the video. I wonder if they got a copyright infringement and took it down. Oh, interesting. Okay. Hey, thank you both so much. I really appreciate your show. I'm a regular monthly donor and I love you guys. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much.
Are you okay if we take one more call?
Yeah. Bye, Melissa.
Bye, Melissa. And folks, I did put those links back in again if you do want to come to the event. Also, I mentioned this in the last time we talked about this in one of the other shows. If you want to pay for someone else to be able to attend, I've already had one person reach out to me who's expressed having a financial need and would like to come to the event in Salt Lake, but doesn't have the money to pay for a ticket. If you want to sponsor somebody to do that, I'll send that link in the live chat right now as well. And that would be a really cool way to help somebody else be able to go to an event. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Last caller of the night. What's the name, caller?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, well, I went by Layman just for giggles.
Okay, well, Layman, good to have you on the show. How are you doing?
like Layman Lemuel.
Yeah.
I'm wonderful.
Good.
So, wanted to call it a bunch of times. Sounded like you had a little spot a little low.
Yeah,
I need notes.
Go ahead, my friend. What are you thinking about?
I missed most of this show, but the guy was talking about his companion stealing from the cars.
Yes.
Was
that you?
District leader. And one of my probably one of my guys though. I was a district leader, and one of my elders banged up one of the girls we were, semi-teaching chummy with there in town. And then I found out later on that my companion was out sneaking around. I think right when I left, coming home, or just after, he goes out and gets his, I think they're still married, but he got her knocked up. Quite an interesting thing that missionaries will do.
Yeah.
Was that in McAllen,
I'll give
Texas?
you the whole story if you wanted to hear it, but Montana.
Okay, so
we did some crazy.
It wasn't
stuff.
one of your guys then.
Yeah, well, this is my missionaries, my companion in my district.
No, I'm telling you that was it Trevor? It was Trevor, right, who told the story? Yeah, he was in McAllen, he said. So he's on the other end of the country, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I just was calling in to tell you guys I love listening to RFM. Your RFM on your Spotify gets stuck at about the Elder Oaks area, about 300 and something. You can't listen to any of them. I can listen to the Mormon discussion stuff, but not the RFM stuff. FYI is all.
On Spotify.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonder why that's.
Yeah, RFM. The RFM gets stuck.
Hey.
There's like a bunch of Jan camp and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been.
Thank you for letting us know.
I started at the beginning. Yeah, I've been listening to RFM. I started episode 1 and just went straight through it for the last, I don't even know, for about a year now.
What's your favorite? What's the one that you like above all the rest?
Oh gosh.
Pick only one.
Oh, I can't. But I could say the part that is interesting is it is wrong to criticize, even if the criticism is true.
It is
And
wrong.
I didn't even come up with that one.
Yeah, that was even.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here trying to be
It's
a
okay.
believer.
Bill's putting you on the spot. It's okay.
Hmm.
You don't have to have a favorite. We
There's so
understand
many.
you
Oh,
love
I
them
know.
all.
There's so many.
I really like listening to RFM. I stumbled across it looking for answers like, oh, I'm going to get on some good Mormon stuff and learn. And I start searching and I'm like, oh, so it's, I mean, what I'm starting to say is I'm trying really hard to go, this has got to be true. I want this to be true so bad, but I have about 304 or 500 lines on a spreadsheet of topics that are like, Brigham Young said this, Joseph had a 14-year-old, and this, I literally have 300 lines on a spreadsheet, and I'm just like,
If Joseph Smith had just had a 14-year-old, it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he married her.
Anyway.
You're right, though, caller. The moment your brain says you can't make it true anymore, it's not true anymore.
And it's like Santa Claus. I want to believe in that too, but damn it.
I'd love to.
The
Layman, do you not understand? Layman, do you not understand that you fell into my evil trap?
Yeah.
You fell into my evil trap.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's interesting. You grow up like, oh, don't believe Sandra. Don't believe the Tanners. You know, that's just anti-Mormon crap. That's all lies.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you stay away, treat it like a rattlesnake, but I haven't gone to that. I haven't even read that one yet. Yeah. But yeah, she's, you know, I mean, it's just, you guys, I don't know, you opened my eyes. It sucks. It's like finding out that Santa Claus ain't real at 8 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
But then, how old are you now?
It sucks.
How old are you now, Layman?
51.
Yeah.
51.
Sucks then too.
No, because now you get to find out that Santa Claus may not exist, but Radio Free Mormon does.
Yeah. Well, thank you, caller. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for your 2 cents there.
Can I give you one last question? I want to ask.
Please.
Have you guys ever made an episode like, you know, you guys always bring the proof, right? But have you ever sat down and proven it just by church docs alone? Like,
I think regularly.
Have you ever done that?
I think.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, strictly by that. I just was. Okay. Well, that's.
Yeah, I think that's like our shtick.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you,
Layman. Bye-bye. Thank you for calling.
You too.
By the way, Meg Monzukas exclaims she thinks she's got it. For caller, Melissa, Mormon Stories episode 1555 with Kara and Sandra Tanner.
Yeah.
Great job, everybody.
By the way,
and especially
I was willing to share that believing podcast that might be the answer to her question. The other side wouldn't do that. The other side doesn't go, you know, Radio Free Mormon does a really good job of explaining this issue. Or, oh, you're looking for where that was said? That was on Mormonism Live, episode 120. The other side will never do that.
No, we are all he who shall not be named. You're right.
I got no problem doing that. You got no problem doing that. Put somebody else's positive content up on the screen.
I want people to go. I encourage them to go and listen to something that I'm quoting from or taking clips from so that they will see the context. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm not trying to put one over on anybody.
No. Yep. We want you to see all sides. So there's that.
What on earth was that?
That's Teddy. He's having a conniption fit. He's a great guard dog for a mini poodle. If anything moves, he's on it like Flint. He's
on it like what?
Like Flint. I don't know. He's in like Flint. He's
in like Flint.
Yeah.
He's on it like Flint. That's the first time I heard that. Although it might be apropos as well.
I said the cliche wrong. Again, I don't claim to be great at grammar. So there's that.
You are great. Period.
Well, thank you.
You're
Folks,
greater than the great Isaiah scroll.
I love it. Come see us August 2nd in Salt Lake City. And we'd love to see you there. Love to hang out with you guys and get to know all of you better.
Yes, we would. So I'm going to sign us out, Mr. Reel?
Sounds great.
Oh, by the way,
yeah.
I spent some hours this morning recording with Colby Reddish,
Mm.
the next installment in the Light on Truth letter.
Yeah. I was gonna say-
Decimation is going to air tomorrow evening. I think, what is it, 7 Mountain Time? 6?
7 o'clock Mountain Time.
7 o'clock Mountain Time.
This is
The
fun.
chapter is called Fruits of the Church, but I thought that was boring and not really accurate. So I retitled his chapter in the Light on Truth letter. The chapter title we'll be covering is chapter 8, Fruits in the Church.
Roots in the Church. The Light on Truth letter.
And what a great image you came up with there, Bill. That's great.
Yeah, those guys look great. Got the missionary name tags on. Those guys are definitely Mormons, aren't they?
Yes, if there were one more, there'd be the presidency of the 70.
There you go.
And that's good. It's going to be wonderful. And I got to tell you something. I said some hours because it was only 2. It was only 2. We were shooting for 1. And at the very beginning, and it's on tape, Colby, I said, can we make it in 1? He says, oh, I think so. And I said, well, we better say 2 then. And we brought it in and just under 2 hours. So I say that like it's a feat because it is, because we usually run over 4 hours on these.
Yeah, you kept this one down. And it's going to be jam-packed full of content and quickly in 2 hours.
It's boom, zoom to the moon.
I love it.
So you can watch that tomorrow night. We'll be back on Monday night, hopefully, with Rebecca Biblioteca or the Mormon Newscast on Monday at 6. And then there's Mormonism Live Wednesday at 6. And then we're around and back to where we are again on Friday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Mormonism After Dark. Hope you have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Good night.